head of the UDA intelligence group without their help. The investigation into collusion resulted, nevertheless, in the jailing of Brian Nelson, and there's Gordon Kerr that said that the UDA was planning to, or shall I say, Brian Nelson had warned Gordon Kerr that the UDA was planning to kill Pat Finnegan, the solicitor, but no action was taken by him.
So who were the main people were helping British intelligence?
There's a short list that's been detailed in the Stevens inquiry that ranges essentially from James Spence, who was supposed to be the UDA godfather, but I'm not quite sure what that means. Then there was Ken Barrett, Brian Nelson, both of which were also Loyalist paramilitaries, high-ranking ones, nevertheless. And then there was William Stobie, the quartermaster of the UDA. Those people in particular seem to have been highlighted. And Ken Barrett was the guy that supposedly murdered, or he murdered Pat Finnegan, the solicitor. Brian Nelson drove him to the actual location. One thing about Ken Barrett, he's now been arrested and he's been sentenced to 22 years minimum for a number of murders that he admitted to. And under the early release program, most terrorists convicted before the Good Friday Agreement of 1998, who had served at least 2 years in prison, were considered for release. But unfortunately, Barrett doesn't qualify for that, as he has served his sentence outside of Northern Ireland. And I'm kind of, studying law. I'd like to query that and wonder whether he should be considered for release pretty much immediately in conjunction to this.
So did collusion go as far as deliberate lies and disinformation?
Yeah, a lot of misinformation was issued by the RUC and the British Army in relation to ships to attacks. For example, the RUC has often told families and family members that an attack was carried out by the IRA when they knew very well that the perpetrators actually included members of their own force, the UDR.
So, how were the SAS also included in this collusion?
Yeah, in standard practice, you can assume that the SAS are pretty much everywhere. They're fairly thin on the ground, and they get up to every hanky-panky skullduggery concept you can imagine, because basically they're the spearhead leading troops, and if there's any killing that needs to be done, that responsible action needs to be taken, they are basically the ones that supervise and coordinate it. They train 40 Linton, they're the specialists, basically at the top of the pile. There was a link, nevertheless, amongst elements of the UDA and the UVF and Special Branch with the SAS in specific in Portadown area. The Special Branch officer that we're talking about here, which I believe is possibly Kerr, was linked to the SAS covert troop based at Castle Dillon, HQ 3 Brigade. And he was said to have provided weapons which were not handed into the RUC forensics, instead to the SAS commanders, then who in turn passed the buck of the pass, as it were, and used the SAS troop facilities and the Special Branch introductions to arm and task Loyalist gangs. So there's a lot of collusion and passing the parcel there, to sort of like avoid blame, as it were. The Garda actually nicknamed this suspicious character, this elusive chap, as the Badger, and his Garda friends to clear areas to enable border crossings for both the SAS, UDA and the UVF operations.
I think if anyone's interested in finding out more about the SAS involvement in the Troubles, one of the books I'd recommend is The Nemesis File, The True Story of an SAS Execution Squad.